And now we can start. So I was just saying to Veda Ann, I'm super excited that this is here. It's been ticking away in my mind for so long. How could I create something that's easier or more accessible than bringing someone into my vortex for like my bigger programs, which are like 2 months, 3 months? It's like, what's like a little bite-sized thing? Because so many women are asking for this work. And so it feels really great to be sharing in this way. And the way that it will work is we'll have 3 group calls, 1 each week, 3 weeks. And then on that 4th week, I'll organize with you all individually a time for us to have a private one-on-one call. And that's going to be to make sure that you feel complete. If there's any other questions that you have, how can I set you up really powerfully? And it's just all about you. And with that said, in the lead up to that 4th week, this is still all about you. Okay, so I want you to, well, the invitation is for you to bring all of yourself to me and to these other women. And what I mean by that is bring me your questions, bring me your burning questions, bring me the questions that don't make sense. Tell me if things don't land. Celebrate yourselves with me. And you can bring questions into the Facebook group. Like Monday to Friday, I'm in there, I'm checking. It's like it's all welcome. So this is my permission to you. And I hope you can give permission to yourself. Oh, we've lost Veda. She'll pop back in. Okay, so I'm going to assume, and I shouldn't assume, but you all watched Reclamation, potentially what got you in the door. And Reclamation was your introduction. Okay, and even though there was so much in that masterclass, it was the tip of the iceberg. It was a tip, just the tip. And now my intention is for you to dive a little deeper. Here she is. Bring her back in. She's back. So I was just saying, like, Reclamation was...
Sorry.
No, you're all right, my love. Reclamation was the introduction. Embodied is the deeper dive. And I really want to welcome you with these calls. If you're here with me live, you're welcome to engage in the chat. So if things are really landing, if it's like, fuck yes, love that, or it's like, I don't get that bit, or like a question comes up with what I'm sharing, put them in the chat, or you can write them down and bring them to me at the end. I'm not going to stop if I'm like in a flow and teaching, but what I'll do at the end, if there is time, is I'll go through everything. I'll answer all your questions. And if there isn't time, I'll answer them and provide answers in the Facebook group. So if you're watching the replay, you also can just bring me all your questions inside the Facebook group as well. And as I said, I'll be checking that Monday to Friday. And so call 1, this week, it is all about attachment. And essentially, like, the crux of it is how to start earning a more secure attachment. That's like the holy grail, right? When it comes to relationship, we want to feel solid, we want to feel sovereign, we want to feel secure attachment. But what I want you to know is I am really not into the overdiagnosing and the self-diagnosing and the pathologizing of everything. I'm really not. Like, my background is psychology, but like labels can be helpful to a point. But I'm not so much into like the big self-diagnosis. And what really defines attachment? So there's a literal definition in psychological terms, and that is that it's a deep emotional bond shared between 2 in which each is seeking closeness and feels more safe and more secure in the presence of the other. Okay, that's like a literal definition of attachment. And then, according to Buddhist teachings, attachment is the root of all suffering. Because inherent within the clinging to something or someone who gives us joy is actually the fear of losing them. So the truth is We're not clinging to the actual joy, and we don't cling because it brings us happiness. We cling because we're afraid. We cling to something because we're actually afraid of losing that happiness. And what the Buddha is saying is that the root of all attachment is fear. So part of this healing journey is actually reconciling the law of impermanence, right? This law of reality. And this is, I'd say this is the hardest thing that we all have to face on this journey called life together. We're all in this together. And whether you feel more anxious or avoidant or disorganized, at the end of the day, they're all the same. They're all the same, and they are just the different sides of the same coin of the same fear. And everything that is motivating that run towards or the pull away, that really strong desire, is the need to avoid as much suffering as possible. Just let Alicia in. And fade around, we keep losing you.
Sorry, guys, that's so annoying. I'm not sure what's happening.
That's all right. I'll always bring you back.
Cool,
Hey,
I'm back. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So attachment theory, it is not a diagnosis. It is super popular right now. Oh, I'm just going to mute you guys. So it's not a diagnosis. It is a piece of a very, very big cake, but it's not the whole picture. There is so much more than attachment and attachment theory that explains why one child ends up one way and another child ends up another way. And with that said, if you know what attachment style feels more familiar to you, you're welcome to pop it in the chat. Share it if you want to, or you can put a hand up if you feel mostly secure. Or maybe you feel more anxious. Or potentially there's more avoidance. And Alicia, let's open the chat. Emma avoidant, Alicia more anxious. Mine was definitely more anxious leaning. Okay. And so there's also disorganized. There's a fourth, and it's very rare. And what it is this intense desire to connect in and an intense fear and desire to pull away. So this person often gets very stuck. And this is usually someone who has been very traumatized at a very early age. And again, like I said at the beginning, I'm not into self-diagnosis. It's the same as the word narcissist that gets thrown around way too loosely. My ex is a narcissist. My ex is a narcissist. It's like, I'm disorganized. It's like, these terms can be helpful, but let's just use them lightly. So what I'm going to do is just kind of explain, I'll give you some signs of what an insecure, anxious attachment can look like. So when I say insecure, I'm talking about anxious and avoidant, right? So some might struggle with anxiety in general or vacillate between anxiety and depression. Some might feel really stable in literally every area in life. And then as soon as they're in relationship, all hell breaks loose and you feel really wild. And you're only anxious once you really like someone or you're emotionally invested. You might attach really quickly when you're dating and then experience a lot of emotional dysregulation. So you might experience things like mania and hyperactivity or obsessive phone checking or feeling like you're actually out of your body. You can feel quite euphoric. There can be a lack of appetite and sleepiness or sleeplessness. You might feel really intense and sometimes this really overwhelming worry that you can't reach your partner during the day. You might need constant reassurance. You might lie to keep the relationship from ending or to bring it back together when it's gotten a bit rocky. You might have a really hard time giving space, especially if, again, it's rocky. You might get into codependent relationships where you both just feel really enmeshed with each other. You might be avoidant, and maybe in the beginning you feel more avoidant, but then once you're in a relationship, the anxiety comes up. You might feel worried and have intruding thoughts or nightmares that they will leave you. That was me, by the way. It was like, even when my relationships felt quite solid, I would always dream that I was being cheated on, always dream that I'd be left. It's like, what did I do in your dreams last night? And there was always something. So my unconscious mind was holding on to this fear. You might feel anxious when you don't hear from them. And then when you do, the relief that you feel is almost like a high. You might be quite controlling in relationship. And if they pull away from you, you might cross their boundaries. And that can look like excessively calling or texting them or accusing them or refusing to give them space. So that's just some of the ways that an insecure attachment can present. And whether you related to one or all of these, I want you to know that attachment styles are not a fixed thing. All right. Think of attachment as being on a spectrum, and you move up and down it. And there will be times where you feel more anxious and other times avoidant, other times more secure. And different relationships and different partners will expose different parts. So this is why I really crystal clear, like attachment theory is it's a piece of the picture. It's just a piece. So we are, as human beings, we are hardwired for connection. All right. We thrive in connection. Just because we can spend time in isolation, it is literally in our DNA to be together. So to be in community, to be in tribe. We were never supposed to be separated into these small groups of 2 or 3 or 4 and hidden behind closed doors, going it alone, bare minimum support. And this is a huge reason for why, as a collective, we suffer. Okay, so literally families have been stitched up. They've been stitched up because it's currently the collective norm to be overworked, overstimulated, undernourished, underconnected, underpleasured, underfucked. I swear. And still we are wired to crave deep, thriving relationships and family connection. So as a consequence of our connection and support needs being so unmet, there's suffering. Parents suffer, relationships suffer, so children suffer. And the suffering is passed down the generational line. And we continue to just create these similar patterns and dysfunction and trauma, and on it goes. And this dysfunction shows up in so many areas, okay? So mental health issues, physical health issues, emotional issues. And relationship is the arena. It's the arena where all these issues get to play out. And this is because relationships actually work to highlight our deepest, our darkest, our unreconciled core material. This is our unhealed hurts that we all have, all of us. So we've all got our own version of suffering. Okay, we have our unique flavor for how we like to suffer. And what triggers our suffering 10 times out of 10? It has something to do with relationship. So just think about it now, and you can share in the chat if anything comes to mind. Who are you in relationship? And what are you in relationship with? Who and what are you currently in relationship with? I want to know. Emma, ourselves. Kirsty's here. Let's let Kirsty in. Hey, Kirsty. Welcome, welcome, sweet woman. Hello. I just asked a question. I asked the question, and you're welcome to put it in the chat. Who are you in relationship with? Who or what? Emma has said ourselves. Emma gets a gold star because, like, if we think about it, it's like partner, parents, school, bully, the school bully, our boss, friends, money, business, my body, food. We're in a relationship with all of these things. And actually, we're not, right? So if you watch Reclamation, I make that quite clear. Like, the only relationship that you have is the one that you have with yourself. It's the only one, because everything and everyone is simply a catalyst to show you the relationship that you have with you. So if you feel solid and secure in who you are, then likely you feel pretty good about relationships. If you feel solid, you probably feel good about money. You probably feel good about your business. Friendship probably feels like a safe space. Intimacy is probably easy. Okay? However, if you don't feel solid in who you are, if you doubt yourself, shame yourself, if you do not trust yourself, if you criticize yourself and question your worth, then can you see how a relationship would be a highly triggering space? Of course it would be. And it's because it will reflect to you your beliefs about yourself. So my question, why do you harbor shitty beliefs about yourself? Well, why do we, I'm in this with you, right? Why do we harbor shitty beliefs about ourselves? Why would we do that? Why? We do it because we learned to. Before we could walk and talk, we were developing a relationship blueprint that determines how we feel about ourselves, relationship space, and the world. Like, literally, before we can walk and talk, we learn whether or not we are safe, whether or not we are lovable, whether or not we are enough. And this is going way back, okay? So depends how far back you want to go, but it's like at least to the womb, right? It's generational, past life, karmic, but we can all get on board with the fact that it's from the womb. And then those first 18 months and those first 8 years, this period is so significant. This is where we download a huge proportion of our beliefs. And we're actually inheriting our primary caregiver's beliefs. And our nervous system is shaped by the environment we grew up in. So we are significantly impacted by caregiver proximity, whether they're attuning to our needs, whether they're available, whether or not they're responsive. The amount of eye contact we receive makes a difference. The kind of touch we receive makes a difference. All of this determines how attuned to we feel and how much we can expect to be attuned to. So what I want you to understand here is you do not have to have been the victim of horrific abuse to have adult attachment wounds. It can be as simple as your caregivers being physically present but emotionally unavailable. Or maybe mum had anxiety and that impacted her capacity to attune to your needs and meet all of your bids for connection. And like, even touch, there's such a difference between touch that's full of presence and connection and touch that is empty. So if your screen's on, you can play along. I'm just going to ask some questions, put your hand up, or you can put it in the chat. But do you have a lot of memories of childhood? If you do, you can just acknowledge that. You can even just acknowledge it for yourself. Memories, clear memories. And now if you don't, you can acknowledge that, hand up, or just for yourself. And then there's some people who have some memories, but really it's just pictures. It's like pictures of things that we might have actually been told, or maybe we've seen the pictures and it's like Feels like a memory. Can anyone relate to that? Feels a bit patchy. So often, like a lack of memory is a consequence of dissociation. So when we are dissociated, we are not present, we are not in our body, we are not present to the moment, we're not available to like what is happening. So if we're not available to what's happening, how can we possibly create a memory? If we're in our head, it's unlikely that the moment will be one that we remember. So I want you to think about a young child, okay? A young child who is dissociated. He or she not grounded to the moment. Now, why would a child dissociate? Why? A child will dissociate when the environment is perceived to be threatening and unsafe. And know that, again, unsafe is a spectrum from feeling mum or dad's anxiety energetically to feeling tension in their relationship or tension in the home, all the way to being exposed to violence. And as adults, when we are triggered, we are actually dissociated from the present moment. When we're really triggered, like really reactive, really triggered, we shoot up into our head and we create a million stories and we start buying into fear or mad or sad. And we're no longer grounded in the body because the emotion and the sensation that is moving through us feels intolerable. So we vacate the body, shoot up here as a defense mechanism. So can you see how if a child is feeling unsafe, that dissociation is actually the body's wisdom? It's the body's wisdom to protect him or her from the discomfort in the body and the discomfort in the environment. So dissociation may have protected us as children, but it no longer serves us as adults because most of our time dissociated from our body and spent in the mind, all we are doing is perpetuating self-inflicted suffering. The mind is a beautiful tool, but often we're just creating our own suffering. So when there is an activation of an insecure attachment wound, you have dissociated from the present moment and the past is present in your body. When there is an intense, overwhelming feeling and sensation in the body, such as anxiety, the past is present in your body. So one of the first tools that you will need in your secure attachment toolkit is a tool that works as an antidote to dissociation. Who knows what it is? Just going to have a quick look at the chat. You guys can throw in any ideas that you might have. Memories, breath work. So the antidote to dissociation is presence. Breathwork is definitely a way to come into presence. So each of you, we all have a direct route to presence that works best, okay? I'm not going to tell you what you need to do. It's like you can find it in breathwork. You can find it in nature or pleasure or movement or food, embodiment. Often people try meditation and it's really not beginner friendly. Meditation's really hard. So I'm not going to install that limiting belief, actually. You can reject that. It's just quieting the monkey mind is not the first place I would send someone who's really new to embodiment, okay? Like breath work gives you something to focus on, as does pleasure, as does dance, as does yoga. But how you connect to presence will be one way that you get to choose to transcend your suffering, to transcend the looping thoughts that create your suffering. And everyone wants some big cathartic process to be the answer, to heal them. once and for all, right? Like, what's the pill? What's the thing? What's the process? Doesn't work like that. Cathartic experiences can be very cathartic, but if you can let presence be the answer, your life will transform. If you can devote yourself to presence every day, your relationships will transform. And I so get that this sounds so simple, right? You didn't invest in this program for me to tell you to be more present. I'm sure you know that. But the question is why? Why is presence so elusive? So elusive. Firstly, let's acknowledge the fact that we're up against the habit of suffering that we've been indulging in for 20, 30, 40 plus years. Okay? And we suffer because we buy into beliefs that are deeper than our cognitive awareness. We buy into beliefs that are actually imprinted into our nervous system, into our body, and into our unconscious mind. So yes, healing and feeling secure is one part anchoring into states of presence, and it is reconciling those beliefs that pull you out of presence in the first place. So the origin for many of these beliefs that we harbor about self and relationship, they have their roots in childhood. As adults, we suffer in relationship, we feel insecure, we feel anxious, we feel avoidant in relationship because in some way we suffered in childhood. So one of the first places that we look to is a relationship with primary caregivers, which is typically mum and dad. Not always. That's why I say caregiver. It's not always mum and dad. And we're going to do much deeper work around this, just not yet. We will do a little process today, but I'm going to give you a little bit more context. So just somatic practices, embodiment. Yes, yes, yes. Beautiful ways, gateways to presence. All right, so there is a huge parallel between an insecure attachment and codependency. The line is very blurry in between these two. And when somebody struggles in this way, they're often not in touch with what they really want. And there's an insecure attachment. Often we can get fixated on our partner. It's almost like we get tunnel vision. And when we have like tunnel vision like this, we actually can repress red flags that we perceive might get in the way of connection. And this is how we are disloyal to ourselves. We must be loyal to ourselves, okay? When we have an insecure attachment wound playing out, we'll often turn a blind eye or will unconsciously actually repress red flags if we perceive that they're going to get in the way of attachment. The need for attachment is strong. So what I want you to do right now is think back to your significant relationships for a moment. You might even close the eyes and just take a moment. Take a look. What do they all have in common? The answer is you. You are the common denominator. Even those relationships that have been painful, maybe even abusive. What was it about you that took you down a painful and unhealthy path? And when you truly sit with that question, why have I struggled in relationship? You will see that for the most part, it comes down to self-worth. It comes down to beliefs about who you are and what love is. comes down to your conditioning. So, example, abandoned by dad. And it comes down to your nervous system. These all have such a significant impact, huge part to play. And that is what we're unpacking now. So, your self-worth matters. You cannot address insecure patterns within yourself without examining your self-worth, and specifically any deficits in your self-worth. If you feel insecure in a relationship, anxious or avoidant, then it is likely that in some way you struggle with feeling enough. And just so you know, I am not enough is the big collective limiting belief, and it shows up in various hats. I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, or I'm scared I'm going to be abandoned, I'm scared I'm going to be cheated on. They're all a version of not enough. And all of us have unconscious beliefs that actually inform our self-talk. And they dictate how we feel and how we behave. And they have us buy into limitations like, I have to settle. I'm going to be left. Love is hard. Love is painful. There's no good people out there. Men cheat. People use me. There's something wrong with me. Versus the beliefs of someone who feels truly solid and secure, which would sound more like, there's always someone else. I am strong. I can handle disappointment. If it doesn't work out, that might not be what I want. I might be really upset, but I will survive. I know there's someone else. I will be okay. So can you see how our beliefs, and often they are unconscious, they matter. They determine how we feel and how we operate in the world. And we need to reconcile our limiting beliefs and get to a certain level of healthy self-worth. And until we do, we suffer in relationship. So we meet someone and we feel really attracted and drawn in. And in our minds, we make them so big. And we make ourselves really small. Make ourselves so small. And we might put them on a pedestal. And if you put someone on a pedestal, then you are beneath them. Or maybe you have a habit of falling for people who put you on a pedestal with the illusion that if you're on the pedestal, then they'll never leave you. So how can you start working on your worthiness? How can you start working on your worthiness? You do it by starting to take accountability and 101, not 100, 101% responsibility for your life. Accountability is about being responsible for your relationship with yourself and being held accountable to taking care of yourself. Responsibility is about devoting to yourself every single day, being loyal to yourself and not self-abandoning. It's about connecting to your dreams and your values and your needs and your desires, and your self-worth will dramatically improve once you start living a life that is in alignment with your values, your dreams, your desires, and you start honoring your needs. So repressed desires actually create deficits in how you feel about yourself. And of course, desires are subjective. So maybe you really wanted to have a family and you didn't. Or you always wanted to be a yoga teacher, but you didn't. Or you wanted to be a parent and you're not. Or you wanted to travel and you didn't, or live somewhere else and you don't. And then unmet needs, again, super subjective, but things like not traveling or not fostering love and connection. Or maybe you feel insignificant because you know you have potential, but you're not reaching it, and you know that. So how can you get so super crystal clear on your values, your dreams and desires, so you can start taking action on them every day to be in alignment with them every day. It's an everyday game. Because when you don't, when you're living a life that is not in alignment with what you say you want, you can feel less than. And when you feel less than and you get into a relationship and you like someone and you feel those chemical reactions, like that new relationship energy, all of that angst of the repressed desires and unmet needs get transferred onto that person and onto that relationship. So I'm sure you all know this experience, right? Love and attraction in the beginning, so uplifting. It's exciting. Regardless of your attachment style, having a crush or starting to see someone new will make you forget about your problems temporarily. That's why honeymoon energy is so intoxicating. So when we start looking at what is missing in life, that is when things start to change. For example, in a codependent relationship, when we over-focus on the other, we paradoxically become avoidant to ourselves. And usually we want something for our life so badly, but we don't know how to accomplish it, or we've convinced ourselves that we just can't get it. And this becomes that repressed dream that lives inside of us. And often this repressed dream will present as anxiety or depression, or it'll bounce between the two. It sits so heavily in the unconscious mind, and we become avoidant of ourselves, and we become so preoccupied with our partner and the external. What's going on over there? And this creates so much anxiety and depression, and it's going to cause us to become ill at ease with ourselves and our life at the minimum. So if this resonates for you, if you feel less than in some way, or if relationship triggers some version of not good enough, then you have to start looking at what is missing in your life. Do you have a dream of more? Relationships, they become our oxygen when we're walking around with deeply repressed dreams. Okay, so when we make our personal dreams a priority, this builds self-esteem, this builds worthiness. So, we won't do it now, but I am going to give, I do tasking. If you do any, if you've worked with me before, or you'll know, it's not just the calls. There's lots of tasking, there's lots of things. And what I'm going to get you to do, I'm not going to do it now just because I have so much to share with you, is you're going to elicit your values. You are going to elicit life values, relationship values, and you are going to get really clear on dreams and desires. I'll give you the full instructions to do it. You'll have this is homework for the week. And these will become your North Star. And every week, every day, it's am I in alignment with what I say that I want? Am I taking steps to move me towards my dreams and desires? And if you're getting into a relationship with someone, or if you are, it's you get to have that conversation. These are my values. What are yours? And it's knowing that these things get to change all the time. They're not fixed, but they're important. Okay, you guys, are you with me? So that's self-worth matters. Your beliefs matter. The next thing that matters is your nervous system. Your nervous system matters, okay? Some of us have very resilient physiology, and we're taught not to worry. It's fine. It'll be fine. And some of us, including myself, are sensitive. We are sensitive, and we have nervous systems that are easily in fight or flight, or can feel threatened. And if you get easily dysregulated in general, then you are going to get easily dysregulated in relationship. When you meet someone that you like, and when the relationship gets rocky, this can really throw you. It can throw you into a spin. And if this is you, you need daily is in capital letters, daily practices because nervous system health is mental health, and mental health is nervous system health. Your thoughts impact your nervous system, and the state of your nervous system impacts your thoughts. They work together. So working with the nervous system, it means that we can repattern it so we can have a different approach to attachment. So I'm going to stay surface level with you guys. You don't need a lecture on the nervous system. I'm going to share what will be helpful to you in daily life. So think about the nervous system as having branches, and there's the parasympathetic system. And when it's working for us, we feel safe. We are safe, we are relaxed, we digest and we sleep and we feel open and we feel really socially engaged. And this state really refers to this feeling of being open. We feel safe enough to have the body relaxed. And imagine if you're out with friends and you just feel on. You're on a date and you're on, you're witty, you're articulate, you're at ease, and it all just flows really effortlessly, okay? Life flows, relationship flows. You all have had moments like this, right? Tell me that you know this. We all have access to these kinds of states, and we get to wake up and we feel good and we feel more deeply touched by life and this intrinsic sense of purpose, right? Feels good. And in terms of attachment, when the parasympathetic nervous system is online, we feel safe. We feel secure about who we are. We feel secure about our partner. We feel great about who they are. And there is trust and there is safety. And the opposite of this is the times when we feel contracted. We feel tight. There is scarcity mindset. We are in fear. We feel triggered. We are activated in some way. We're really reactive. And we start buying into our conditioned programs. I'll be abandoned. I'm going to be rejected. I'm not lovable, whatever they might be. Not good enough. So can you see, just from this short little chat on the nervous system, can you see that feeling secure or insecure? It is directly related to the state of your nervous system. I said it before, everyone wants a magic pill. When it comes to healing, it's like, give me the process. What's the process? But it actually starts with the not sexy daily devotion to the quality of your nervous system. And this ties in so directly, so beautifully with what I shared at the beginning about presence. Okay, so this is 2 birds, 1 stone. You get to look after your nervous system and cultivate presence at exactly the same time. So there's 2 gifts that you can give yourself, your partner, and your relationship relevant to what I'm speaking about. The first one is self-regulation. This is where you have your own back. All right, you have the capacity to self-soothe. If your partner is triggered, you can stay grounded. You know that your nervous system response is your responsibility. The second gift is co-regulation. This is when your nervous system is supported by someone else's. So in relationship, if you're triggered, your partner can soothe you. They can slow you down. They can breathe with you. You can co-regulate with your kids. You can co-regulate with a therapist. This is a lot of what I do with clients. It's like we're in relationship, we're co-regulating. And just my experience, I spent forever demanding that my partner make me better. I would not self-regulate. I did not know how. It felt impossible. It was make me better. You fix me. You did this. You better save me. You better soothe me. I did not have the capacity to self-regulate, and I relied so heavily on co-regulation. And at the same time, I would reject it. I made my partner's parent me. Super unconsciously, but I made my partner's parent me, and this does not support connection. Really doesn't. It's dysfunctional. So even though co-regulation is one of the gifts, you do not want to be relying on it at the expense of learning how to self-regulate. Self-regulation is super empowering. It supports you feeling sovereign, and it's a big part of your capacity to be emotionally intelligent. The reason why self-regulation is a gift to your partner is it actually relieves them from being your caretaker, and it lets them be a sovereign individual. So all of that landing, Veda. Lands for me too. This was like big part of my journey with relationship was like flexing the muscle of self-regulation. And what I'm going to do now with you, I'm actually going to give you a practice. Okay. I normally teach this when I'm teaching about the nervous system, and it's really simple. It's embodiment. It's an embodiment practice. It's a somatic practice. It's a practice of interoception. Interoception. What that means is having awareness of your internal states. And you would use this to reduce anxiety, to soothe yourself, to reparent yourself. So if you're willing to come with me, we'll just do like a little practice, and you can be lying, you can be seated, you can be however you are is perfect, but just comfortable. And you would use this practice in the heat of the moment when you're actually feeling contracted and triggered. This is your tool. This is another tool for you. And what we'll do for now is we'll just imagine. If you are currently triggered, do it on the trigger that you're in. Otherwise, I'll get you to close the eyes if you're comfortable to. If not, open is fine. And the invitation is to bring to mind a triggering situation. Again, if you are triggered, I hope you're not. Maybe you are. You can just welcome that in. Otherwise, just bringing to mind a triggering situation. I want you to see it, let it play out for you for a moment. And as you see it in your mind's eye, as you hear what was said, as you really welcome it in, maybe you can connect with it, and maybe not, but still just for practice, come with me. I want you to feel the sensations of that experience. Where in the body can you feel them? Take a scan. Head, throat, heart, solar plexus, womb, belly. Often we feel things there. Could be anywhere. And if you can't feel it, just can you remember where you normally do feel sensations in the body? And I'm going to invite you to bring a hand to that part. So for me, it's often solar plexus, right? So hand where you feel the sensations as you connect to this triggering situation. And what you would do now is you would start to mentally whisper what you feel. Might be heat, tingling, numbness, heavy, coolness, sharp, dull, hard. You just keep mentally whispering what's there, whatever you can feel. And you're simply allowing these sensations to be here, even if you don't like them. Just feel how you felt from that triggering situation. And if ever you're doing this in the heat of the moment and you're really activated, if it gets too much, you can just refer to contact points. So feet on the earth, bum on the seat, hand on the body. And you would continually whisper sensations with so much presence, really just checking it out. And as you mentally whisper sensations, you just see if they change. Really tuning into the sensations where you feel them the most. And then you would ask this place, what is it that you most need? Maybe it's presence or care or safety, to be held, kindness, warmth. And you're asking just like you would ask a child. And can you attune to these sensations with the same amount of care? What is it that you need? And if the sensations moved in your body, you would just keep taking your hand to where you feel them the most. Just letting them be there. And as you check in with what do you need, maybe it's warmth. And can you imagine warmth traveling from your hand to the sensations, the emotion in the body? And attuning to sensations like this strengthens your nervous system. And you might offer some words of compassion like you belong, you are safe, I care. And you use these words to bring a sense of ease into the body. And so let's just take a deep breath here. Long exhale from the mouth. You can come back to me in this moment in time. And when you do this process in the moment, after you've done it, you can have a shake. Like shaking is so simple and it's so profoundly like transformational, just to like discharge energy. It's like literally you might shake your body. And this practice, that was just like a little guide through, a little walkthrough, but you would use it in the heat of the moment. And this is when you will not want to use it, right? When we're triggered, everything we know we should do goes out the window. And this is where you get to flex the muscle and choose to transcend behaviors that aren't serving you, right? How we create long-lasting change is choosing to do something different in the heat of the moment. So that's a practice that you'll use as needed. And daily nervous system support is also important. So my question is, what are you doing daily to support a resilient nervous system? Not just on the days that you feel off, not just on the days that you feel good or make time, every single day. This is how you love yourself. And when you love yourself, you are saying, I am worthy. I am worthy of a nervous system that is capable and resilient. So I'm literally going to share with you now my daily routine. Okay, this is what I do. You don't have to do this, but I would love for you guys. Maybe you already do. Maybe you have this. I get that this is basic stuff, but it's like, it's so basic that sometimes we forget about it. But the invitation is daily commitment to your nervous system. And the start of my day, every day, is devoted to my nervous system. It doesn't matter what the weather is doing. It doesn't matter where I am. And it wasn't always like this. I used to be super hyper masculine. It's like alarm at 5 a.m., straight to the most intense yoga class I can find, come home, get into work. And I was so proud of that. That does not support my feminine body at all, right? So it's different. And what I do now, I have to set boundaries for myself because I still work a lot. And so 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., phone goes on airplane mode. I have to do this or I won't stop working. Okay. This is how I put a boundary in place, airplane mode, and then go to sleep. And then when I wake up, I pee, I then get back into bed and I do 3 rounds of breathing. I do alternate nostril breathing for 3 minutes. I do a breathing for my lungs for 3 minutes, and I do belly breathing for 3 minutes. So it's 9 minutes, a 9-minute practice. I use the timer on my phone. It's still in airplane mode. I then grab my journal. And all I do is put pen to paper and I empty the contents of my mind. Like while I've been breathing, little thoughts have been coming in about work in the day and whatever's going on in my life. I just like, wow, it's a purge journal practice. It's messy. I'm never going to read it again. It's just empty, empty, empty until I feel like there's nothing else to say. Maybe takes 5 minutes maximum. Then I get up and I eat something small. Eat something small. And then I go for a walk, rain or shine, whatever the weather, I just dress for it. And I do about 40 minutes. 20 is your minimum. 20 minutes in sunshine outside walking, okay? I then come home, put music on, and I clean the kitchen and I make breakfast. And it's only after I have eaten does my phone come off airplane mode. And the only time that I won't do my walk is if I'm on day 1, maybe 2 of my bleed. And you want to make sure that you eat something. Just say you were going to adopt this routine, make sure you eat something before the walk, okay? Even if it is small. And no coffee on an empty stomach. Like a woman's stress hormones are higher in the morning, and eating within the first 30 to 60 minutes of waking up lets the body relax. And if you aren't hungry in the morning, this gets to be a retraining to support your hormones, your metabolism, your stress levels, your nervous system. So that's, if you guys have a routine already, like do what works for you, but devote to your nervous system every day. All right, so where are we? We've done worthiness matters, your self-worth matters, your beliefs matter, your nervous system matters. You have a practice now to use in the moment. You are going to set up a daily commitment to yourself. You're going to elicit your values, your dreams, your desires. The next thing that matters is your conditioning. It's your conditioning. Your conditioning matters. So our relationships to our caregivers matters, and specifically how we view our parents. Our childhoods are largely defined by our parents or whoever your primary caregivers were. And understanding what happened in childhood that impacts your relationships today, it supports your healing. So awareness, having awareness, understanding the family system, understanding where you struggled with a particular parent, what went down in your childhood that is contributing to your experience of relationship as an adult. This is important. And if we do not address our childhood, our relationships will. That is not my quote, but it's great. If we don't address our childhood, our relationships will. And some of us may have to do trauma work. You know? It's important. Some of us might just have to have difficult conversations with that partner, that parent, or the sibling, or whoever. And you'll need to start relating to your parents differently, which means you have to look at them differently. So if you were to examine your childhood and examine your conditioning, what did you learn? What beliefs did you take on? Having a parent who is unavailable or absent or shut down, and a child who is sensitive, this impacts attachment. So we can justify cutting off parents as a boundary to be safe, but if we are honest, years on, you're not a child anymore, and you have to let it go. But if we have become avoidant of a parent or a caregiver, or we have unreconciled hurts, then we're going to play them out in relationship. If you had a withdrawn or absent parent, you play that out in relationship with partners who are like that parent. The patterns are familiar. We are subconsciously trying to work out the drama of our childhood with our partners. So my experience was absent father and forever trying to pry unconditional love from men, trying to make up for the love that was absent from my father. And this did not stop until I changed the story that I had about my dad. And I wasn't able to do that until I had a conversation with him. And I only had that conversation this year. And it changed a lot. So part of healing insecure attachment patterns comes from healing the relationships with our parents. We can't keep relating to our parents or caregivers as though we're a little girl anymore. And if we continue to do so, then we stay in trauma. So it's about recognizing I'm a grown adult now and I can look at them differently. I can relate to them differently. So the question is there a parent that you struggle with to this day? Even if they have died or you never plan to speak to them ever again, you can make peace with them in your mind. You can have the difficult conversations in your mind. It might be like, I know you didn't mean to do this, but this was my experience as a child with you. I don't want to fight. It's not a blame game. You don't have to worry about that. But this happened when I was a child. This is how I perceived you. And this was really upsetting to me. And I want to make peace with this and clear the air, because if I don't, it's going to continue to haunt me in my relationships. So you can continue to have this kind of conversation literally with your caregiver, or you just do it in your mind, or you write it down, but it has to be done. We are all a product of our conditioning. And if you don't address it as an adult, you are choosing to continue to let it control you as though you are still a child. You're going to have the same problems. So inner work or inner child work, it's not just about self-soothing and reparenting. That is part of it. It's also about learning how to relate, whether it's in your mind or literally with your family differently. And by differently, I mean as the person that you are today, as an adult. Emma's out of here. Cool. Let's just take a deep breath. And exhale. I know I've just given you a lot. Yeah, and that's what we're going to do. If you are able to stay on with me for 2, 4, 6 more minutes, we'll say 10 minutes max to be safe. I'm just going to guide you through a little process. And if not, you can do it on the replay and there'll be part of it to do as tasking. So this process is in regards to everything that I've just shared. And I would love for you to pick the caregiver, the parent, the whoever it is that you struggled with the most. The one that you might have a contraction around or a judgment around or feel a bit of a block to. And if there's no one, it's all like really beautiful and fine. It's like, just pick a parent and go through. You can come on the ride, come on the journey anyway. But take a moment just to decide who you're going to do this process with. Mom or dad or and once you've picked them, what we're going to do is we're going to close the eyes and we're going to call in the energy of this person. You're going to see them, hear them, feel them. It's like they're right there in front of you. And then I'm going to offer you a statement. You're going to say, what I want you to know is, you're going to keep repeating that for 2 whole minutes. I'm going to time us. And then if you feel like you are complete, there's nothing else to say, just take a moment to pause and bring in the energy of this person, see if there's anything more. You're welcome to repeat yourself. You're all on mute. No one can hear you. If you want to do it in your mind, you can, but it's like we're not writing it, we're speaking it either out loud or in the mind. So then there's 2 other statements we're going to do afterwards. So I'll invite you to come into like a comfortable position. You can be lying or seated. When you are ready, I'll get you to close the eyes down. And we'll start with a really deep breath in, deep breath into the nose, and an exhale from the mouth with a sigh. Do that 2 more times. Nose breath in, mouth breath out. Now calling into your mind's eye. Through visualization, through felt sense, this caregiver, this parent, whoever it is that you would like to do this process with, the one that you have struggled with the most. Maybe there's a contraction or a judgment or a block, but just welcome them into your energy. I want you to imagine that they are right there in front of you. I want you to see them, feel them, really get a sense of them here with you energetically, and take a deep breath in and a long exhale. And now I'll just give you an example. If I was going through this process myself right now and I was sitting with my dad, how it would look would be, what I want you to know is how much it impacted my life that you were not here. What I want you to know is that how much it impacted my brother's life, that he had no male role model. What I want you to know is that it's impacted all of my relationships with men. What I want you to know is that I miss you. What I want you to know is that I'm mad at you. And I would just continue. I would continue like that. So we're going to take a moment to connect with this person, the energy of this person. And when you are ready, either speaking out loud or speaking in your mind, what I want you to know is, and I'll let you know when to stop. And slowly letting that go. Any final words? What I want you to know is taking a deep breath in and a long exhale. Staying with the eyes closed, staying connected to this person. The next statement that you're going to offer is a judgment I have about you. And if I was to do this right now, it would be a judgment I have about you is that you're selfish. A judgment I have about you is that you're a victim. The judgment I have about you is that you don't care, and so on. And you continue until I say stop. So just again, connecting with the energy of this person. I want you to see them in your mind's eye. What do they look like? What do they feel like? What do they sound like? Take a deep breath, welcome them in. And when you are ready, a judgment I have about you is. And just any final words, a judgment I have about you is anything that needs a voice. And then taking a deep breath here and a long exhale. One more statement to go, and this one is what I see in you that I see in me. So if I was to do this, what I see in you that I see in me is you put yourself first. What I see in you that I see in me is your creativity. What I see in you that I see in me is your free spirit. What I see in you that I see in me is your anxiety, and so on. So really connecting in with this person now, this person you've chosen to do this process with, and seeing what do you see in them that you also see in yourself. Take a deep breath. I want you to see them, hear them, feel them, get a real sense of them here with you. And when you're ready, what I see in you that I see in me. And any final things to share, anything that needs a voice, what I see in you that I see in me, just acknowledging that now. And then taking a deep breath here, a long exhale, letting go of the process, the energy of this person, coming back to you, yourself. You might orient yourself to your body with just some little movements in fingers and toes. Taking a breath so deep that you feel the movement of breath inside your body. You might refer to your contact points of body on earth, body on seat, hands on body, any touch points. Squeeze the hands to thighs or squeezing the hands. And when you're ready, you're welcome to open eyes and come back to me in this moment in time. And beautiful woman, that is call one. So I will post the replay in the Facebook group, and inside of that post will be tasking. One of the tasks will be to do that process again with the other parent, if there is someone. And you're welcome to just speak it out loud, speak it in your mind. If you want to write it down, you can. There'll be the tasking around values, dreams, and desires. There will be the interoception practice to use for your nervous system in the moment. And I'd love to be hearing from you all about how you're going to be setting up your day with daily commitment to self, nervous system wise. I think that's it. So I'm now just going to open the space for you. If you have any questions, like, what do I need to know? What have you learned? What was confusing? There's never any pressure to ask questions. I know I've just fed you like a lot of info. So it's like, you're welcome to come back and bring me questions in the Facebook group. But if there's anything now that's like burning, you're welcome to post it in the chat, or you can just take yourself off mute and throw it into the space. I know I've gone over the hour, so you're also totally welcome to leave. Thanks so much. Ducking out. You're so welcome, beautiful woman. Just cried, felt so much release. I'm so glad that felt like a release, Alicia. Yeah. The shadow work can be so beautiful. Okay, beautiful woman, I'll let you go. If you have questions, just bring them into the group. Thank you, Charlie. Keen to try this practice. Have to go. Yep, everyone, you are so welcome to go. Thank you for your beautiful presence, and anything you need, bring to me. Anything I need to share with you, it'll be in the group. So big love, and I'll speak to you all soon. I'll see you in the group.